With that, we do have some amazing guest speakers from Liberty Mutual Insurance who are here with us today. We have Julia, we have Danielle, we have Brendan, and we have David, who is a Spencer Scholar alumni. So we're super excited to see him. We do also have Jose Mendoza here with us. Jose, so thank you so much for hanging out with us. And with that, I will turn it over to you to start the presentation.
Yes, thank you so much. Thanks for having us here today. So you might have all already scanned that QR code, but if you could just scan that, check in with us today to let us know that you were here and that we can stay connected for our future opportunities that we're going to talk about today, that would be great. But we are so excited today to talk about actuarial, underwriting, and surety opportunities, and then also understanding industry exams and overcoming failure. So we can get started. So quick introduction. So my name is Danielle Bakayaki. I am a senior early talent recruiter here at Liberty, currently supporting our finance functions as well as underwriting and surety. And then I'll kick it over to Brendan just to quickly introduce himself as well.
Thanks, Danielle. As Danielle mentioned, my name is Brendan. I'm also a senior early talent recruiter on our team here. I'm in our Boston office and I support our actuarial function. So very excited to be chatting with you all today.
Thanks, Brendan. All right. So today, what we're going to do, our plan is just to do a quick overview of our different early career opportunities. That way you understand what options we have if you are looking for whether internships or full-time opportunities. And then we have our lovely panelists, Julia and David, who are going to talk about industry exams and how they've been able to overcome failure or setbacks during this time. And then, as we mentioned, we will have some Q&A at the end. All right. So to start, I do want to go over our underwriting training program. So this is our full-time opportunity, and it does sit within both parts of our business, which is U.S. retail markets, which is more of those personal consumers, versus our global risk solutions, which is our larger commercial customers. So the program sits in both. And it's a 21-week program that's really designed to develop your decision-making skills and your analytical skills. You're assigned a mentor, and you really are able to grow your whole network because you have your whole cohort with you along the way. So how the program is structured is you join a full-time underwriting team on day one, and then you'll get to learn the ins and outs of that specific line of business, really get to learn your skills, learn what the team dynamic is. And then along the way, while you're doing that, you'll also have classroom trainings that are held over the first 6 months. So some of the classroom trainings are in person, some will be held virtually. So you really get the benefit of both and really get to live that hybrid experience. And you'll get exposure to a variety of business operations and different lines of business, such as auto, workers' compensation, general liability. So really a large scale of a lot of different things that you'll really be able to grow those underwriting skills. And then another great piece of the program, which Julia will talk about later as she did go through the program, is they do give you the education to sit for your first designation, which is the Associates in Commercial Underwriting or the AU designation. So definitely just a great start to your career as an underwriter. And then kind of what we're looking for in this program, we do take a lot of risk management students, economics, finance, communication, but definitely see a lot of those RMI students come through as this is a lot of what the coursework is. So looking for someone too that has those decision-making abilities, the interpersonal skills are a big piece of it. While it is very analytical in nature, there still is a lot of the people aspect and a lot of relationship building as it comes to underwriting. And then for locations, I saw in the chat, you all are a little bit all over the US, which is great because we are too. So we have over 40 plus offices countrywide that we are able to hire into. So it really changes year to year. So I always recommend if you are looking for an internship or a full-time opportunity, look at all of our different requisitions as you will see the specific locations that we're hiring into for the year. And again, this changes year to year. It's really based on business need. So you can definitely see if there's something that is close to your area or if you are looking to relocate, definitely lots of opportunities to do that. And then also for the internship program, it does feed right into our full-time program. Our philosophy is recruit once, hire twice. So we want to hire you into that internship program. And then at the end, if you have a successful summer with us, you can receive an offer to return into the full-time underwriting training program. And then just some projects that we've had our interns and program participants do, especially within the underwriting space. So we had an intern who actually reviewed data and underwrote policies that covered a loss due to a cyber attack. So I'm sure a lot of you are learning about cyber underwriting, definitely a growing space that you hear more and more about. And then I haven't touched quite on surety yet, but we'll go into that next. But for our surety project, we also had an intern that did a full financial and credit analysis to allow the city of Chicago to move forward with a construction on a bridge. So definitely also just really cool hands-on experiences. I think the best part about specifically our internships is that they're not just giving you like fake accounts to work on. You're not doing any fake work. You are on real life projects, working with real life underwriters and really seeing the ins and outs of the work. And then, yeah, so as for our surety underwriting development program, so this program is set up very similarly. So on day one, you join that full-time surety team in whatever office. And then you also do have that 15-month training program that goes along with it. So there are 2 in-person trainings that they have, and then there's a lot of virtual events throughout. You're also assigned a learning advisor or a mentor. And for those of you that don't quite know what surety is yet, so there are 3 parties within surety. So one is the construction company that might be completing a project, say I'm in Boston, so say there's the city of Boston. Liberty Mutual acts as the surety, so we issue surety bonds to ensure that the construction company is able to complete those large scale projects, such as a bridge being built, and ensure that it goes according to plan in the contract. So I'd say the biggest difference between surety and traditional underwriting, surety is very financial focused. You're going to be looking at a lot of financial documents such as the balance sheet, income statement, statement of cash flows, making sure that that construction company is able to commit to the project itself. So we take a lot of finance majors, lots of econ majors, but I've also definitely seen a lot of risk management majors come through recently, whether it's because of things like this or because schools are kind of learning a little bit more about it. It's a very niche part of insurance. And it's one of those spaces kind of similar to actuarial, where kind of once you do the designations, you're kind of in it for life. Because similarly to actuarial, the designation that you receive is called the Associates in Fidelity and Surety Bonding. It's 5 exams. When you do get that, it is a required designation. So unfortunately, if you're not able to pass those exams, you're not able to be a surety underwriter. So definitely gives you those skills to have a job for the rest of your life. And it's a very competitive space. And a very small part of insurance, but we are also the number 2 surety in the world. So definitely a really great space to join. And we also have an internship that's set up very similarly to the underwriting development programs internship, and still have offices nationwide. So can definitely support a lot of different areas. And now I think I'll kick it over to Brendan to talk about our actuarial opportunities.
Thanks, Danielle. So we'll start by going over our full-time opportunity, which is our actuarial development program. So this is an opportunity for soon-to-be grads, recent graduates, career changers to go through a 4.5-year-long rotational program. Over those 4.5 years, you do 3 different rotations. Each one is 18 months long. And similar to how Daniel was talking about the underwriting opportunities, it is available throughout the organization. So through both our personal and commercial lines of business, so that US retail markets and global risk solutions. So you do get a broad opportunity to gain different skills, to see different areas of the organization. And in each of those different rotations, there's different assignment areas that you might be placed on. Some of those roles might be more traditional actuarial positions like a pricing team or a reserving team, but we also have some non-traditional actuarial assignment areas, and those include teams that focus on analytics and building out statistical models. So it's a great opportunity for you to gain some technical skills, gain some business acumen throughout those rotations as well. But as an actuary, you have to sit through and pass exams to become certified. So getting your ACAS or FCAS designation here at Liberty. And that's that second section you see in the middle for exams. So at the end of the 4.5 years, it is a requirement that our participants have at minimum ACAS designation. And within the actuarial space, there's two different tracks that you can go down. There's the Society of Actuaries path. So if you're looking to work in health insurance, life insurance, annuities, you'd be taking those set of exams. However, because Liberty is a property and casualty insurance company, our actuaries follow the CAS, or the Casualty Actuarial Society exam path. So you can either have associateship, which is that ACAS designation, or fellowship designation, which is FCAS. Over the 4.5 years, because you are expected to be sitting for exams, passing them, there is a lot of support that Liberty provides to help make sure that our actuaries are successful in their exams. So some of the benefits that you are eligible for include like reimbursement for exam fees and study materials. You get time off when you're sitting for exams, so that way you don't have to use your own vacation time to do that. The big thing that we provide, though, comes in the form of study hours. So depending on which exam it is that someone is sitting for, they'll have a set number of hours that they can use to study during the workday. So think of it as like a bank of hours that you have available. You can work out a schedule with your manager. So if you learn best studying in the afternoon, maybe you work out a schedule where from 3 to 5 every day you're studying for your exam. At the end of the week, you've spent 10 hours of your 40 hours of the work week studying. Next week, you go on and continue on with your study hours, but you have 10 less available. So you kind of pull that from the bank that you have. So we do provide a lot of support. It's a cohort model. So you join this program with a number of other hires. A lot of them are taking the same exams as you. So you kind of have that built-in support system cohort as part of our program as well. For this full-time program, you can see some of those qualifications that are there. It is a requirement that when you're applying to our full-time program that you have at least one exam already passed, whether it's exam P, exam FM, the probability or financial mathematics exam. Doesn't matter as long as you have one. And you see some common majors there. So we do get a lot of students who are coming from actuarial science programs, risk management programs, finance, economics, statistics. So a lot of similar academic backgrounds as our underwriting and surety folks. Locations, few less than underwriting, where it has 40. We have 3. We have our global headquarters in Boston. We also have offices in Chicago and Plano, Texas, where this program is available. We also have an internship program. So our internship is an 11-week long, basically condensed version of this full-time program. So as an intern, you also have some of the same opportunities to get exposure to different areas of the business, to see areas like modeling, pricing, reserving, analytics. One of the big differences, though, is just because you're only here for 11 weeks as an intern, you don't have the time to do rotations. So instead of going through multiple teams over the summer, you're placed on one team, and that's the team that you support for the 11 weeks that you're here. But you do still get trainings on some of these other areas. So even if you're on, let's say you're placed on a modeling team, you're still going to get training on reserving. You're still going to get a training on pricing. So you'll learn a little bit more about those other functions, even if you're not seeing that in your direct day-to-day work. The other big difference between our internship and full-time program is for our internship, it is not required to have an exam. It's great if you do, but it is not a hard and firm requirement like it is for our full-time opportunity. So going on to the next slide, we'll give you a sense of what an example project might be. So this is actually one of David's former projects, and we'll probably get into this a little bit in the panel conversation. But when David was an intern, he was on a condo team, and he was able to look at some of the trends and the claims data that their team was looking into, and found that there were increases in damages in those condo lines due to air conditioner usage in warmer areas of the country. So think of like the South over the summer. In the Northeast, when it gets cold in the winter, we turn up the heat, pipes freeze. Some of those were contributing factors that he was able to find, and then was able to present some of those findings to stakeholders and provide recommendations moving forward. So very similar to what Danielle was talking about, where even as an intern, you're not doing busy work or like fake projects. You're given real life information that has a direct impact on the business, on our customers, and you can play an integral part in moving the company forward. So we do have one of the largest, if not the largest, actuarial function within the property casualty space. By the last check I had, we were the largest employer of credentialed P&C actuaries, which is great for networking purposes. You have this huge network that you can tap into if you are looking to network or to just get support as you're going through exams. Everyone has gone through this process already. They know what it's like to be a student in the program. They are there to support you if you'd like to reach out. And it does, again, give you that opportunity to get exposure across the entire organization and get that broad executive visibility as well. So with that, we'll turn it over to our panel conversation today. So I'm very excited to introduce Julia and David, who are going to be our panelists. So Julia, David, if you can start just by introducing yourself, your current role, where you went to school, and if you would love to share why you chose Liberty, I'm sure all of our attendees would love to hear. So Julia, I'll
Fantastic.
turn it over to you to start.
Thanks, Brendan. Hi, everybody. So fun to see all the introductions popping through the chat. It is very nice to virtually meet you. My name is Julia Pascal. I've been with Liberty Mutual for a little bit over 3 years now. I was a student at Illinois State University studying English and mathematics. So I see we've got a couple RMI majors in the chat, a lot of actuarial majors, but I also saw some people who were outside of both of those. And that was my world. I found the insurance industry through an internship with Liberty, and they totally hooked me onto the industry. And it's been a great few years growing my career here. The reason I chose Liberty originally was because I really loved the formal development program they have. I am somebody who came in as an intern, then went through an underwriting development program, and then received my book of business. And having a development program that was structured, that taught you the different lines of business, they paired you up with a mentor and a manager who were forming part of your success team. All of that, those aspects of development really intrigued me, and it's been a great few years. I'll turn it over to David.
Thanks, Julia. So my name is David Ramdeen. Currently an actuarial assistant in workers' compensation, particularly middle markets and large accounts. I went to St. John's University, studied quantitative risk and insurance, and I've been working with Liberty for 1 year and like 2 or 3 months. I interned with Liberty. I received the internship through the IAB. So IAB is basically the International Association of Black Actuaries. And then since then, after the internship, I had a buddy, and throughout the summer, I just enjoyed it, and I got a return offer, and I was like, okay, Liberty has like a strong actuarial program. The 4.5 years that Brendan mentioned, they also have quite a lot of experienced and credential actuaries, so I knew that I'd have numerous opportunities to just network and learn from different people, and they also promote diversity and a lot of international opportunities as well. So obviously, me being from Jamaica, I cherish that a lot. And ever since being at Liberty, it's definitely been like good culture, and I've enjoyed it. So yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, David. Thanks, Julia. So I've got a couple questions I'm going to go through and ask each of you. And then again, if you have questions for our panelists, we'll have some time towards the end, but also feel free to throw some questions in the Q&A. We'll be monitoring that throughout as well. But David, I'm going to tee up our first question for you. So this will be an actuarial specific question. And I mentioned in the overview, there are kind of those two paths that actuaries can choose to go down, whether it's the property casualty track or the Society of Actuaries track, so the health, life insurance, annuities path. So can you share a little bit about like how you found out about the actuarial career, that initial interest you had, and what led you to choose to go down the property casualty path instead of the health, life, annuities path?
Yeah, sure. So when I was in high school, I attended high school in Jamaica. One of my economics teachers mentioned being an actuary. He said that there are very little actuaries in Jamaica, so I was like, okay, probably something I can pursue. I always liked math, and then I got into St. John's University. I applied to so many universities, and I really only got into St. John's and a couple others, and they had an AXI program. So I was like, all right, this is what I'm gonna do. And ever since then, I've just like studied for the exams, and I passed the first one, and I was like, all right, maybe I can do this. And afterwards, I got attracted to the property and casualty route, particularly because like there's just a diverse amount of products that like one can insure, like the planes, like luxury cars, like livestock, random stuff that like I would never even think of being insurable are insurable. So, and I also just thought of life and pensions to just probably be a boring track. I don't know, because like property and casualty is a very volatile field as well. Obviously, a lot of the products are short-term products, whereas in the life and health field, a lot of the products are long-term products. Obviously, life insurance, stuff like that, annuities. But yeah, and then I interned. My first internship was in catastrophe and capital modeling, and my second with Liberty, the slide that Brendan showed, I was with specialty products. So I've always been around some niche or unique kind of products or roles in actuarial science. So ever since I was like, all right, property and casualties way more interesting to me. A lot more volatility though. People say that exams are harder, but they are definitely more rewarding, I would say.
And I guess to add on that, David, you mentioned you passed your first exam before deciding what path you want to go down. And just for any of the students that are here today, if you're just starting to look into this opportunity, the first two exams that every actuary takes, the probability exam, the financial mathematics exam, they are for both paths. So you have some time to sit for exams, potentially have an internship in one of these different companies and in these different areas to test the water, see what you might like to do more than another before you really commit to pursuing the SOA or the CAS path. So thanks for sharing a little bit about that background, David, and kind of what led you to Liberty. Julia, you also have exams as part of your career path. So very different from the actuarial exams, but can you talk a little bit about like what your designation journey was like and kind of how you approached that?
Absolutely. So, for the role of an underwriter, there's no exams or licensure that we have to have. There are certain industry positions, like a producer or a broker, where they might have to be licensed within that certain state in order to hold that job. For an underwriter, the exams that we have available for us are all optional. And for me, the reason that I was interested in taking some is I looked at the people who I looked up to in the industry when I started my internship. I was based here in Chicago. I'm still here. And I looked at the people on my team who I looked up to and respected the most from their career. And I saw a lot of them had some letters that came after that, their name. So when I started talking with them about what these designations were and what they looked like, my interest was absolutely piqued from the start. I knew once I decided insurance was the career for me, that this was something that I wanted to pursue. So when I came back and joined full time, I was here for just about a week and I had a conversation with my manager about these designations. I was a little nervous because at that point, I had the summer behind me, sure, but I was still entirely too new and said, hey, I'm interested in pursuing these designations. Here's some, uh, substantial cost for each exam, for each book that I was interested in getting. What does support look like? And right away, my manager was fully behind me, fully behind my pursuit of them. He had his CPCU, which is the Chartered Property and Casualty Underwriter. It's considered one of the top designations for the underwriting role. In an average, that designation takes about 2 years to pursue, working through it. And he got my corporate card set up so that we could financially fund that aspect. And he was also set me up with a mentor who had taken some exams to help me talk through that process. At the start of my career, I couldn't accelerate a lot of parts of my job. I couldn't get accounts until I had accounts in my desk. I couldn't practice broker conversations until I actually had things to talk about with them. So for me, taking an ownership of my designation journey was such an example of controlling the controllables. It was something that was totally in my own ability to sit down and say, I want to develop a baseline of insurance knowledge. As somebody who didn't come from a risk management program, there was something that some of my peers who were coming from those specialty programs had, and I was interested in building that baseline knowledge as quick as I could. So skip a few years later, I now have 5 designations, which is on the higher side. But for me, I took it one step at a time. With our program, our Underwriting Foundations program, we work through the content for the associate in commercial underwriting. So for me, that's a no-brainer that we're working through that content as a class. Of course, I was going to apply myself through the exams. And my latest one was the CPCU, which is that kind of ultimate exam for the underwriting role. And since then, I've found a lot of community through that, and I've actually stepped on as the president of the Chicago CPCU Society. So I'm continuing to kind of build the connections that some of those designations really afforded me.
That's awesome. Congratulations, Julia.
Thanks.
And I think, go ahead, David. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to add as well, like similarly as Julia, like trying to take control of your career with the exams. That's another reason why I chose actuarial science, because you definitely can control your growth for a decent period of time just by taking exams, like learning a lot and everything pretty much. Even the early exams, you may feel like they don't really apply to your role, but it's a good foundation. And obviously, the higher level exams definitely play more of a role. So I definitely agree with Julia in terms of like just being able to take control of your career through exams.
And that's something that we tell our interns throughout the summer too, when you're having conversations with your manager, to be an advocate for yourself and to create a goals and growth plan for yourself to accomplish different things. And it's no different as an intern than it is for full time. But I'm glad that that was something that, Julia, you were able to start in your first week and have those sometimes difficult conversations and have the courage to advocate for yourself. So I think that's a great lesson for all the students that are here today. And actually, my next question that I wanted to ask, this will be for both you and David, but this is kind of piggybacking on what you just mentioned, Julia. You were at a school that didn't have a formal like RMI program or underwriting support program. So there are other students that are here today that are at a university or college that doesn't have a formal actuarial program, a risk management program. They might not have any actuarial clubs or a Gamma Iota Sigma chapter on their campus. So from your experience, what advice would you have for them to hopefully help them to be able to navigate these career paths and for the actuarial space to start studying for exams?
Definitely. I came from Illinois State University, which actually does have a phenomenal risk management program. It just wasn't on my radar at all until I had an internship that totally sold me on the industry. And when I joined, I definitely recognized as an underwriter, part of our job is to be out in the marketplace, to be having conversations with brokers, meeting people. And a lot of people that I would meet already had these connections from the Katie School at Illinois State. And it wasn't until I had already joined the industry when I found out, oh, hey, that would have been a great resource to take advantage of. But I didn't. So what can I do now? And I think one of the fantastic ways that you can kind of bring your all to the industry is by going to events, introducing yourself. I think having a digital presence, I see all the LinkedIn links going in the chat. I think that's fantastic. Those can really help you cement some of those connections after attending an event. Send those messages instead of just sending a connection request, sending a follow-up message or calling back to the conversation you had. Those are all great ways you can build your network. And hopefully at your company, you'll find mentors that you can learn from who have taken the exams. If your own company doesn't have that, the industry is a small industry. It feels large, but it's so small in the fact that there are so many people who are interested in helping you. I can speak from my own experience. Once I had a couple years of experience under my belt and I was able to step into that mentorship role myself, that's a role that I absolutely cherish. It's one of my favorite types of conversation to have during my work week. is having those mentorship conversations in the mentor role. And there are people that want to help you. Even on this call, we've got a number of us on here who are so excited to cheer you on and support you. And if that comes down to practical, tangible advice about how we studied for the exams, or if it just comes down to general conversations on career growth and development, there are so many resources. I would say don't be afraid to take the first step in initiating some of those conversations, and bring kindness and genuine spirit to your conversations, and that'll go a long way.
Yeah. Regarding actuarial science, I can definitely agree with some stuff Julia said. Like, you definitely have to be bold. Reach out to people on LinkedIn. I mean, people did it. People have reached out to me on LinkedIn even whilst I was a student. I used to reach out to people on LinkedIn, so that definitely helps. I think you definitely have to be very, um, as I said, bold, because you won't have like a structured program for you at school if you're not in an actuarial or RMI program. So everything you'd have to do is basically for yourself. Like, reach out to math, finance, or like engineering professors. Um, you can join mentorship or professional organizations. So like IABA, as I said, International Association of Black Actuaries, OLA, I think that's Organization of Latino Actuaries. There's like so many different organizations just surrounding insurance and actuarial science right now. And reaching out to one person in one of those organizations won't hurt. There will be someone willing to talk to you. Um, Regarding like exam material as well, TIA, so that's the Infinite Actuary. Like, I think last week they recently made exam P and exam FM totally free, like the courses at least. So, I mean, whilst I was a student, I would have appreciated that because I had to buy my material. Now it's free. And I think that's a high barrier to entry for a lot of actuarial science students, just the exam cost. I mean, for me, I studied for P with free material, and I couldn't ask my mom to buy the material and pay for my exam at the same time. So stuff like that as well. There are resources. You just have to be very vigilant. Definitely have to do your own research, and yeah.
I have one more question that I want to ask before we turn it over to our audience. So when it comes to exams, obviously the hope is that you're successful, you pass your exam when you sit for it, but obviously that doesn't always happen for folks. So if you have been unsuccessful on an exam in the past, how did you overcome that? I guess, like, what did you learn from that experience? And if you were unsuccessful, how did that help to develop and strengthen your resiliency moving forward? And that can be for either you or Julia.
Yeah, so I can go. So usually I would not have an answer for this, but I failed my first exam in April. So before that I was like on a streak, but I failed my first exam. I had four exams and I failed my, well, this would be my fifth. So definitely didn't know how to take it. But I spoke to a few managers and stuff, and they're like, "Oh, this is very normal. You're not." I felt some sort of like imposter syndrome. I was like, "Oh, I probably don't deserve to be here," stuff like that. But after a while, like, I got it. Like, okay, this is not a sprint; it's more of a marathon. Especially actuarial science having like 10 exams and then courses on top of that. So that's how I took it. I was like, okay, I wouldn't say I was rushing, but I was like, okay, I'm on a streak. Let me just, everything will go well. So I had like a more laid back summer, I would say. I would say like I didn't really pressure myself as I would normally have done because I knew most of the material already. I knew that, okay, I may just have made some mistakes. It just needed a bit more touching up. So when I failed this exam, I used like different materials just to get different perspectives because actuarial material is like, obviously it's the same concepts, but different materials teach you the concepts differently. So I think that helped me realize like what needed touching up on, what I probably didn't really understand. And I retook it in August. And I found out that I passed like a couple of days ago. So that was like, okay, I know that I can pass the exams. Like obviously I knew, but like obviously failing made me like second guess myself. But yeah, I didn't personally I don't create like a strict study plan because I know myself. I know that like I want to enjoy times out with friends and stuff. Probably people need it more strict than that, but yeah, I just study when I have the time. Obviously, I think a study plan is very good, but I just don't think it would be helpful for me because I like to have flexibility with what I do. So yeah, I guess I passed on to Julia, even if she hasn't failed an exam before.
Yeah, not one of my formal exams, although there is one of the CPCU exams that is notoriously difficult for underwriters to pass. It's one that combines a lot of legal and finance in it. So I prepared double for that because, right, we talked about having some mentors who had gone through the exams. I'd heard that that one was a trickier one, spent some more time on it. I had failed a practice exam, and that was a little. It was just a couple days before I was planning on taking my actual one, so that was a little shattering to the confidence. Feeling like okay, I'm feeling like I'm understanding this material. Feel like I worked through it really well. The chapter check-ins that they had, I felt like I was keeping up. So for the comprehensive exam to struggle with that one just a couple of days before I was planning on taking my formal one. Um, yeah, had to take a moment to realize number one, I am, it's fantastic that I'm pursuing these designations. I'm also a lot of things beyond these designations and beyond my insurance career. And, a small blow to my studying plan or the trajectory that I was planning on just means that I'm going to take some different steps going forward. And that's all that has to mean. So, chatted through that experience with a mentor, looked at the questions that I missed, doubled down on some of the concepts that needed reinforcing, and continued ahead and passed the exam when I was scheduled to take it.
Yeah, I guess one more point. So when I spoke to one of my friends who told me like what they did when they failed an exam. So when you fail an exam, you get basically like a breakdown of your score. So he told me to put my score breakdown as like my desktop background at work. So I would see the fail every day. I would see it every day and I would know that okay, I'm not failing it again. So I don't know if that helped as well, but it definitely would like keep me motivated as well.
I believe that.
Yep. That visual reminder for sure. So I have a couple more questions I can ask, but I want to make sure we engage our student audience today. So if there's anyone that has a question for Julia or David, feel free to come off of mute, raise your hand, throw a question in the chat. Bryce, but we'll start with you. Go ahead.
Hi, thanks. Um, David, out of curiosity, when you passed the exam, did you put the pass as your screensaver?
No, no. This is when I failed the exam.
So you didn't like reward yourself with like seeing okay.
No. I
But
just
you're just
changed it
here
back
for the
to my
fame.
I just changed it back to my normal screensaver after I passed.
No, I've done something similar like that before. Where like I was so close to failing a class and like losing like a not like close to failing, but close to not getting like an A.
Yeah,
And I put the amount of points I have to pass on the next exam on the
yeah,
door that I leave every day.
yeah.
And so I memorized that I have to get an 89.5 to get an A in this class. So yeah. So I can
Yeah,
very
you
much
need
relate.
you need something to remind you at times, you know?
Yeah, no, I was here for that kind of pain. I was like, yeah. But my question is so for me, my goal and trajectory is I do have a double major in risk management and finance. I've had two internships so far, one in underwriting, one for like brokerage, so the E&S space. And I have managed to pass my resident agency for property and casualty. The primary directions I'm looking at are like risk management, but I also have like secondary interest in underwriting and actuarial. Do you have any advice for like when you're looking at that kind of range and you've got like one more internship opportunity? what do you think would be the best thing to kind of help you decide the direction you want to take it?
I would say it depends on how willing. I would say probably try to study for an exam. I know a lot of people like they take an exam and they fail it and they're like, okay, this is not for me. Some people are like, okay, I know I can do the exam. It's just I just need to study harder. So I think like if you're going to approach actuarial science, you have to take it with a leap of faith that you might end up failing. But do you think like are you ready to like do math for the rest of your life almost? You know? So that's one thing that I would recommend. If not, and you feel like okay, you probably thrive more in risk management or underwriting or brokerage role, then yeah. But explore all your options for your last internship, I would say, and or not all for your last internship, but explore all your options and think deeply about what you want, you know?
Do you suggest taking the test? If I pass it, maybe consider it. If fail, kind of reconsider.
If
Yeah,
you fail, maybe you like, okay, you can pass it and like you
yeah,
actually want it, you know? Not because you fail doesn't mean you can't be an actuary.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say one other thought that comes to my mind is an exercise that I have. Liberty usually hosts a couple interns in the Chicago office, and I have everybody there do an exercise because insurance might not have been on their radar. It's clearly on your radar, and that's fantastic, and you have great experience. But I advise everybody to think about the type of life that they want, the type of career that they want. Think about, does that involve travel for you? Does that involve are you really driven and want to have a strong career focus? Do you want to have conversations with people every day, or would you rather be more task oriented? Do you like working internally with people on group work, or do you like having your own work? Kind of create this list of yourself of what you envision your ideal career looking like, and then bring that to somebody that you trust in that organization. Talk through the characteristics and see if there's a role out there that they say, oh, you know what? I think these set of characteristics would work great in an E&S brokerage role. Oh, you're really social. Maybe broker's more for you. Oh, you really like having. For me, underwriting is a beautiful blend, and part of the reason I picked it is because it walks that line of analytical and social. Coming from somebody who is majoring in English and math, I love communication. I love talking with people, writing. I also love the analysis aspect of it. So for me, underwriting is that beautiful blend. Um, and I would, yeah, recommend that exercise. No matter where you end up, hopefully you'll find yourself at a company where there is lots of flexibility to talk with people. I know at Liberty Mutual, there's such a culture where you can reach out to anybody in the organization. I know I've done that. I've had conversations with people on our legal team just because I wanted to have a coffee chat with them to learn more about their role. And I can say that I've really done that quite across the organization. So having a culture like that. And of course, like I talked about, people love helping out interns. I think it's a fun part of the day. So hopefully you'll find people are eager to talk through that.
You both. Those are very, really rich and full answers. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Bryce.
Appreciate that question, Bryce. Nissan, we'll head over to you next.
Um, Hello everybody. I'm Nissan. I'm from Nepal, and right now it is 11:30 at night, and I'm glad I can join this session and meet you all the guys. So little bit introduction about myself. I'm a university student about to graduate in a month, and I have passed three actuarial exams in the first attempt. So I'm also on the restricted now. Let's hope that it will continue in the future. So right now I'm interning at a company which specialize in parametric insurance. As someone interested in parametric insurance and product pricing, I'm curious, do you see parametric solutions becoming a core part of actuarial work in the future? And as far as I'm working and I'm studying, like the parametric insurance pricing is like a rudimentary, the methods and methodology are as I see. And in terms of career development, would you recommend CAS or SOA fellowship for the parametric product pricing? Thank you.
I don't really have much knowledge surrounding parametric insurance, but I think it's like typically surrounding like catastrophes or something of that sort, if I'm not wrong. So I'm assuming pursuing the property and casualty route would be more aligned. Am I wrong, Nissan? If I'm
Yeah,
misunderstanding what parametric insurance
no,
is.
yeah, you're correct. So
Okay, yeah.
right now we're doing like agricultural parametric insurance
Yeah.
for the climate risks. So
Yeah, so I think that the property and casualty route would probably be more aligned.
thank you,
Yeah.
David. Thank you so much.
David, you're up next with your question.
Hello. So my question is to David. So what's your best time management strategy for combining work deadlines and then studying for CAS exams? Yeah.
Yeah, so as Brendan mentioned, like Liberty gives you specific amount of hours for studying and working. So personally, and what I've seen a lot with other students is they work or they study from like 9 to 11 or 8 to 11 if they just wanted to use the extra hour. But I typically do 9 to 11 in the morning every day leading up to an exam. And obviously, you'd probably have to switch that around with work at times because you probably have meetings and stuff of that sort. And you probably have to catch up on hours if you want. I know some people who take like 2, 3 days, use like save up their hours, take 2, 3, 4 days off before their exam. I mean, I personally don't think that would work for me. I think I manage my time a lot better. I probably would focus more for the 2 hours instead of 4 days before my exam. So, and along with that, you have pretty much the weekends off to just study if you want. So I think you probably have to play with it, but most people I think use the morning because your brain is fresh. You haven't thought about work as yet. If you tried to study in the afternoon, you probably want to like finish up some work, and then like by the time you're ready to study, it's like okay, my time is basically gone, and you'd be in a constant like okay, I need to catch up on my hours. So yeah, and I think the higher the level of exams, the more hours you get. So yeah, hopefully that helps.
Yeah, that helps.
All right.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thanks, David. Michaela, your question.
Yes. So hello, my name is Michaela. I go to Georgia State University. I'm studying risk management and insurance. So, specifically, I just had a question for Julia mainly. I just wanted to get a better understanding of the underwriting program at Liberty. So I wanted to know, like, what are the key differences between the underwriting program and the actuarial program? And particularly like in terms of their roles and responsibilities, could you just explain more about those differences? Maybe David could also add as well.
Absolutely. I'd love to speak to the underwriting development program that Liberty has. So it's a 6-month course. It starts in June, I think, when school's starting to let out. I was in a cohort of around 40 people, which I loved. A lot of us were recent graduates, as myself was just coming out of undergrad. There were a few people who were doing career transitions, stepping into the insurance industry we had somebody coming in from legal, somebody coming in from finance, and some people coming over from the claim side as well. But by and large, we were people who were new to the role of underwriting. So we had 6 months where we worked through the 4 main lines of business that we were going to be working in as property and casualty underwriters. So we worked through general liability, auto, property, and workers' compensation. As part of that course, we had 3 teachers who would walk us through sessions throughout the day. The 40 of us in my cohort were all throughout the US, so most of our content learning was virtual based. There was a couple of us in Chicago, in Boston, Seattle, Plano, Texas, where some of our hub offices are. And about every month or month and a half, we had an exam on our line of business that we would work through. And there were also a couple of projects where we got to look at a specific account. So for me, I am on the public entity team, which means I underwrite for schools. It's a fantastic place because we are a niche industry that gets to look at all lines of business. So I'm industry specific that I'm underwriting for schools, but I get to take a look at their auto, general liability, professional lines, crime, cyber, workers' compensation, umbrella, property, all the fun things that schools are going to need insurance coverage for. I get to take a look at that. So it's a fun space to be. And throughout each course, we would look at a real school account that we'd have and we'd focus it through that lens. And I'd say, after having gone through my auto unit, here are some considerations that I know we need to look for when evaluating a fleet. How far are they traveling? What does their maintenance plan look like? And I get to take that knowledge and apply it to that account specifically. I also was designated a mentor, and of course, I have a manager through the program as well. So they were really part of my success team where we had bi-weekly check-ins to talk about things that I was learning from my classes. So that was part of my time was working through that cohort with my 40 colleagues. And then the other half was getting my public entity specific training. And that was all those fun meetings that my team today has that I got to sit in on and learning how the public entity team does their specific type of underwriting. So getting a little bit of that team specific while also that really general foundational, here's what underwriting looks like through the lines of business. I'll pass it over to David to talk more about his program.
Yeah, so in the internship program, you asked about the internship program, right? Yeah, so in the internship program, obviously, as Brendan said, like a more condensed version of the development program, 11 weeks. Throughout that 11 weeks, I worked on 3 projects. I had a buddy as well, so we'd have probably every 2 weeks, like just meeting, just to chat about stuff beyond actuarial science and stuff related to actuarial science. We also had a project at the end where we had to like basically present what we did throughout our internship. Alongside that, I think everyone does like serve with liberty during their internship as well. So just a bunch of different stuff, activities alongside just your regular actuarial work. That I really enjoyed. I guess Brennan could probably speak a bit more. He's like more detail on what the program entails. But yeah, if I could just also like relate like underwriting and actuarial. So like a lot of teams, so the actuarial role pretty much like would set a price for an insurance for like a general insurance policy, and then say for instance, I would hand this over to Julia, and Julia will go into her program and say, okay, I don't think that this person, based on what I've seen, based on the risk measures that I've looked at this specific company, I wouldn't charge them 100. I'd probably charge them like 95 or 90 or something of that sort. So Julia would basically adjust the price that I predict based off just the data I'm given, if that makes sense. So I would be doing more of the math aspect, and Julia would be doing more of an opinion-based aspect based on the risk measures that she identified at a specific company or on the car or whatever product.
Okay, thank you for sharing.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks, Michaela. So looking at the time, we have just a couple minutes left. So I know there's a couple others that have some questions. Would encourage you to reach out to us on LinkedIn if you have any questions that we can answer for you. But I want to turn it back over to Danielle to wrap up today's session.
Yes, thank you, Brendan. And thank you all for being here today. What a great session. I feel like we were really engaged. So we are so excited to potentially connect with you in the future. So again, make sure you're adding us on LinkedIn. If you do, I did see a lot of connections coming in during the meeting. So super excited to stay connected with you all. And especially again, as Brendan mentioned, as we move forward, if there is anyone with questions that you kind of want answered, whether it is more on the recruiting side or whether it is from our lovely panelists, David or Julia, definitely feel free to reach out. We're happy to continue to make these connections. So thank you all again for being here today. Such a great event. And we're so happy to have you all here. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everybody.
guys. We
Thank you very much. Thank
appreciate
you.
Thank you.
you.
Thank you.